James is a pretty easygoing kid. He enjoys Nintendo. He enjoys art. He takes a lot of pride in his art. James can also be as average as a kid of 14 to tease his sister, to pick on his brother. They have fights. He gets disciplined just like any other kid does. He tries to get out of going to school like any normal 14-year-old, tries to get out of doing his homework. He's a pretty normal kid. James was diagnosed in 1984 being HIV positive. And the reasons why that we had him tested was he wasn't growing up to the standards of other children. So we knew something wasn't quite right. Plus he had reoccurring infections in his ears, throat. At that point then we found out that James was HIV positive.
James White became infected with the AIDS virus through blood products he received to manage his hemophilia. Today, these blood factors are treated to prevent HIV infection. But prior to 1985, thousands of people with hemophilia, including infants and children like James, were exposed to the AIDS virus.
When James was first diagnosed, it's quite frightening because at that point there wasn't a lot of research on it, there wasn't a lot of information available, and so it's quite a frightening experience because you believe your child's only going to live a couple of years since they're diagnosed. And James is really doing quite well.
James' parents told him about the disease when he became old enough to understand about his condition.
And so we set him down, his father and I, and we told him that he was HIV infected and that he had received the AIDS virus from his factor VIII. James took it probably like any other little guy would have. He wanted to know how long he had to live. And we told him that just because he was HIV infected did not mean that it was a death sentence. And that if he took good care of himself and he stayed on the medicines, that he would be able to stay in the main function of life for a very long time.
James has decided not to discuss his HIV status with his classmates at school.
Because I've heard kids at school making jokes about the disease, and so I don't think it'd be appropriate time to tell them, because they might make fun of me.
This was his decision, and it may come about in a year or 6 months or who knows when that James will say, I'm ready to talk to everybody about this. And when he does, we'll support him 100%. I'm not afraid of what people can do because I have found the majority of people that I have talked to about it are very supportive. They understand, or they try to anyway.
I think it's important to realize that this disease is a treatable disease. We do not have a cure at this time, but we can treat it. The first two children that I diagnosed and treated in 1983 died within 2 weeks. Now my average child lives at least 5 years, and I believe we will continue to make progress in that regard. We can treat the virus itself with some new and exciting treatments. We can treat the complications of the virus, and we can prevent many of the complications of the virus.
Until a cure for AIDS is found, these treatments are a patient's best hope. 2-year-old Megan Richards is benefiting from many of the new treatments now being offered. Like most children with HIV, Megan was born with the virus. Megan's mother, Kimberly, unknowingly contracted the AIDS virus through sexual contact before marriage. She then unknowingly passed the virus on to her baby during pregnancy.
I wasn't real sick. Megan wasn't real sick. I mean, she was losing weight, but she didn't have anything really wrong with her. But I said, you know, I was adamant. I said I wanted the test, and I forgot about it after the test. I didn't think about it because I really didn't think I had it. And we went in for her next appointment, just her routine appointment. And the doctor came in and she said, your tests for HIV came back positive. And she talked to us for about an hour, but I don't think I heard one word she said after that. I was hysterical, worried about Megan, not really about myself.
The families go through a wide variety of emotions, and it's usually panic and disbelief. There's a lot of feelings of fear because they feel like that this is a death sentence for their children, and so they have all of these feelings just kind of swimming around in them, and it gets really, really difficult for them because they're trying to sort out really medical information and trying to deal with the reality in their minds that their child is going to die.
It is important to understand, I think, what we're doing for these children. We are giving them medicines. We are doing procedures. We do lots of blood tests. What do the children gain from this? Now, most of my children are getting to school age. Most of my kids can go to school. Whether regular school or special school, they are in school settings that other generally normal kids go to. They may have to take medicine before they go to school and after they get home. But most of the kids are doing what normal kids do, other than taking their medicines and coming in to visit me once a month. Ooh, what's that? Doggy, all right. And that? Cats. You've been cheating, you've been practicing, haven't you?
This is her book.
Oh, okay.
Although Megan is healthy, Kimberly worries about what the future holds for both of them. She fears dying and leaving Megan behind. Worse, she fears losing Megan. Elizabeth Contreras learned that her entire family was infected with HIV 2 years ago when her baby Christian became sick.
I thought the worst. I thought he had cancer, but I never thought it was AIDS. When the doctor talked to me, I saw that she was very grim. She took me to a treatment room, and then she said to wait a minute. And I saw that everyone was being very nice to me. Then the doctor said, it's going to be hard for you to deal with, but Christian is infected with AIDS.
Elizabeth says her husband may have become infected through sexual contact and then passed the virus on to her before Christian was born.
I think he got it from other women because for him, one woman was not sufficient. And he died about 1.5 years ago, infected, with all the complications that a person with AIDS has. I couldn't see him for a very long time, especially at the end. I think that men who have a wife or girlfriend should be only with them, not with other people, because they hurt the wife and they forget their family. If they thought a little more about their families, it would be different.
Margie Mullins is facing the challenges of HIV in her family head-on. Margie and her husband are raising their nephew Taekwon and 2 foster children, Gabrielle and Brandon. Taekwon and Brandon have HIV. Gabrielle is now testing negative for the virus, but was considered at high risk for the disease when she was born. Margie had no idea how her life would be changed when Taekwon came into her life 12 years ago. He was simply a sick child, suffering from hemophilia, who needed a loving home and good medical care. Then, in 1987, Taekwon was diagnosed with HIV.
It was like a death sentence when I finally came to realization it was true, because I lived in denial for maybe 2 years. I knew it. I came to the hospital, but I kept waiting to hear that it was a mistake. I just kept that in mind, that this is another phase of Taekwon's medical problems, and you know, it's a mistake made somewhere. Because I couldn't see why one child would have to suffer so. You know, I still can't fathom why, but I'm learning to accept it.
Margie found the strength to confront her pain and denial by watching Taekwon battle the disease. She now uses all the weapons she can find to fight for her children's health and happiness. And she urges other families confronting HIV to do the same.
First, they have to have an attitude to realize there's hope. You just have to embed that, just implant that daily. There has to be hope. And then one can move a day at a time. That's all it is, a day at a time. And I have a lot of medical terminology books. I searched the TV, cable, for anything on HIV. I don't run from it. I try to seek as much knowledge as I can. I try to research the understanding of the medicines, how they work, what they do to the cells, and what have you, because a lot of times it's the parent that's going to deter illness. I can listen to my kids just like a mechanic listens to a car. When I hear a cough, I know if it's a cough that they're in trouble with, or I know if it's just a cough that they're going to overcome. You know, it's just tuning in, and the sooner you tune in, the better off you are. That's the main thing. And I ran mentally for like 2-3 years. But finally, as things began to manifest and it was inevitable, then I decided I'm gonna meet it head on. I'm gonna declare war on AIDS.
I feel that, and I believe that within this century there will be a cure for this disease. And so the biggest challenge comes in keeping these kids alive for that time and keeping them living normal lives. A lot of people see these children in the hospitals, and they're not. They're at home, and they're going to school, and they're playing with their friends. And if we get them the right drug for any infectious disease they get, or we get the right drug to keep the virus at a low level in their body over the next 2 to 4 years, then I believe that we've got a real good chance of seeing these kids into the next century.
What I can do for children today is remarkably different than what I could do months ago, and infinitely different than what I could do 5 years ago. We want to keep moving in that direction.
Many children with HIV are now living healthy, active lives. Hospitals and clinics all around the United States are working every day to help children with HIV and their families. Through research, new treatment programs, and education, we are fighting AIDS. We are making progress. There is hope for the future.